with our community, prepare our students for achievement and lifetime readiness by providing opportunities for all. And on that note, I will call to order the Board of Education meeting for Monday, April 14th. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, it is nice to see all you folks. Do we have any changes to the agenda you're aware of, Rich?
There was an update to the staffing report that was sent out to the board today and changed, but no other changes to the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the noted changes.
Second.
Rick's motion is seconded by Jennifer to approve our agenda as you see it. Questions from anyone? And then all in favor, please signify with aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion clearly passes. Thank you. We got an agenda approved. The next up says confirmation of oath of office. Most of you realize we had an election earlier this month. We had two of our board members, incumbents actually, so they've been serving us very, very capably and were victorious in their election. And as such, they need to retake their oath of office before their term starts. We don't do that at a board meeting. They've both done that. That's Rick and John. And they've both done that prior to the board meeting. So this is just a public confirmation that they have confirmed or taken their oath of office and are seated for a 3-year term on the school board. So welcome back to all. Minutes are next in our agenda.
I move to approve the minutes for the regular held meeting on March 10th, 2025, and the special meeting held March 31st, 2025, as presented.
Second.
Tracy's motion is seconded by Ed. As you just heard, we have 2 meetings that this is covering, our regular meeting, and then we have had a special meeting in between regulars here. So questions from anyone on those? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That clearly passes. And vouchers follow.
I'll move to approve general checking account vouchers totaling $1,443,543.90 as presented.
Second.
Ooh, we got a lot of seconds. John's motion is seconded by Annette to approve our checking account vouchers that you just heard for the amount John enumerated. Does anyone have questions on the vouchers? And then all in favor of that, please signify with aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That clearly passes. Public comment is next, and we sometimes don't have folks wishing to speak to us. Tonight we do. As I picked up the sheet, we have one district resident. I would invite Kelly Willoughby up to our little lectern with the laptop open there. She wants to visit on our district copier lease.
Yes,
Welcome.
thank you. It's Kelly will be very nervous, so I'm going to try to speak slowly. But first off, yes, I am Kelly Willoughby. Many of you know me through volunteering in Milton, but for my career, I've spent about 21 years at the Gordon Flesh Company. So tonight, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit and thank you and your team so much for allowing Gordon Flesh the opportunity this year to actually propose a management solution for the school district of Milton. I think the role of the community, and so to have the chance to also possibly support them through my work career too was just an honor. So thank you for that. I worked at Gordon Flesh for 20 years, and our customer service is absolutely top notch. We're family owned and operated, 3rd generation of family. We will hit 70 years next year. And during that time, our company has worked with over 1,000 educational institutions in regards to all things managed print. For this project, I had the great opportunity to work with Neil and Carl. We did a 3-meeting type thing. We went into discovery just to learn what's more important about the district. We hosted a virtual demo of PaperCut, which is an output management software used in school districts everywhere to help control print output and all things security. We're one of the top 5 PaperCut resellers in the nation, so it was really cool to have that conversation and all the impacts that it could, have on school districts of Milton. In that 3rd meeting, we got together, tied all that conversation together, and went over our recommendations, did a lot of cost comparison, talked a lot about all the GFC service and support resources, and also looked at new innovative ways outside of that to also save money, like switching to cloud faxing solutions and things like that. The next day, my field service manager and I also visited many of the main workrooms at all the different schools, just to take measurements, make sure we had everything right, electrical, and also talk to some power users. Including these stakeholders gave us a lot of insight into like the type of medias, type of jobs, and more importantly, what type of frustrations do they have that we can fix and make things easier for them. So throughout all these meetings, we worked together to downsize your fleet from 50 devices to 43, which is pretty awesome, right? In the school district of your side. And I was told that there would be savings, we could be saving the district a little over $100 a month with our proposal, which I thought was pretty amazing. That's $1,200 a year to go back into salaries, benefits, building, all that kind of stuff. In addition to that, by implementing paper cut as well, there are going to be savings of up to 30% we've seen in all of our districts. So just by implementing that, based on the cost of the service program and all of that, if you were to just, let's just start 5% super minimal and reduce your output by that, you're saving the district another $1,900 based on your output currently. If you're going to 10%, it'd be $3,800. So you can see how these numbers by ongoing doing a total managed print with this type of solution could really bring a lot of benefit to the district. And of course, it also goes into paper, right? You buy paper, it reduces the output for those expenses go down too. So it was just a ton of great meetings. Cannon and Rico are our main offerings. They're number 1 and 2 in the industry, and it actually represents 40% of the industry as a whole of what people are using in school districts. So we're proposing Rico for your fleet, and we really feel like we've recommended much better technology for less cost as well. And technology, that's all important, but like the heartbeat of our organization is quality. We are all focused on customer service to the 18th, whether you need somebody here to fix something, it's technical support, it's whatever you might need. We do have 178 service techs in all of our territories that we cover. They average almost 18 years of service, so we really have been in the business a long time, with a lot of people that bring a lot of wealth as well going forward. I know it might seem overwhelming to think about switching to a new partner for services like these, but we really make the process seamless. So again, I just really thank you for the time to let me come in and propose a solution to you, as well as let me speak tonight. And regardless of the outcome, I just wish you all the best with every project you have. But I really appreciate it. And go Red Hawks! Awesome, thank you.
Very good, thank you. All right, and that was the only public comment that we had to take care of tonight, so thank you for that. Next is the superintendent update, and a little bit of a new wrinkle to that piece tonight. We have an A and a B, if you can follow the agenda there. The A, it says Red Hawk recognition, and this is not necessarily new, but we're trying to reinvigorate a policy and a practice that we've had in the past, and it's really geared around recognizing our staff. I think you've heard several of us comment at certain points in dialogue about the wonderful staff that we have here in Milton. And that is an understatement in a lot of regards. So in a small effort to shine a light on our staff people that are doing, are going above and beyond, are just excelling in ways that we really can't measure, we try to come up with a recognition opportunity and are relying pretty much exclusively on your peers to nominate you. So if you are an awardee or potentially in the future, realize that your efforts, while always visible to the administration and to the board, are especially visible to your staff members, your colleagues, the people that you work with, because that's who we reached out to find the nominees that we're going to start with. So on that note, we have some folks with us tonight that are going to be our first awardees as we sort of reinvigorate this program. We have a nice certificate to hand out, Red Hawk recognition. I will read that when we get to handing it out. And then I'm also going to read the folks that nominated you shared with us 2-3 sentences or a paragraph or so that kind of sums up why they nominated you and what you excel at. So on that note, if you were able to join me up front, please. Sam Snyder, Emily Smith and Chris Kleist, Chris Sundlin, and Katie Grady. Come on up and front of the classroom, folks. No particular order, but outstanding in all of their respects, and I'll beg your pardons, I left my cheat sheet back here. All right, I will start with Sam.
Yep.
Yep, no, I'm good.
We were used to making eye
I want to
contact.
make sure we have 5 folks up here, because I have 5 certificates, so just kind of double checking. No, that is great. And I don't have my slips in the right order, but now I do. Okay. Red Hawk recognition. First, let me read. Sam Snyder was nominated by Ryan Moore. And Ryan shares with us that Sam has shown an exceptional ability to impact the outcomes of the students that she works with. She has a passion for what she does and makes lasting connections with the students that receive her support. Milton Middle School is fortunate to have her, as is the school district of Milton. Sam Snyder, speech and language pathologist, in recognition of your outstanding service to our students, families, and our community, please accept Red Hawk recognition. All right, next we will jump to Emily Smith and Chris Kleist. Joined at the hip, as most of you know. And this one's personal. This one's personal and gratifying because my kids went through both of those classrooms. Emily and Chris go far above and beyond. The love, care, and concern they have for my son with special needs often brings me to tears. They have created a beautiful community with their classroom full of inclusion, respect, and love. I would love to share pictures if given the opportunity. One small example is that they ordered and wore DS awareness t-shirts on DS Day without any mention from me. And in recognition of that, it's the same certificate. Chris Kleist, 4th grade teacher, in recognition for your outstanding service to our students, families, and our community. Congratulations. And nonetheless, Emily Smith, and not joined at the hip, in recognition of your outstanding service to our students, families, and our community. Red Hawk Spotlight. Thank you. Chris is next. Chris Sundlin was nominated by Nicole Schaefer. Chris's passion, dedication, and professionalism goes well above and beyond every day. She drops things off to students' homes so they can more effectively communicate or finish assignments they may have forgotten. She offers continuous training options so staff and parents can provide the best possible options to support student success. In addition, her professionalism always raises the bar for those around her. She always sees the good and positive growth in students, staff, MHS, and the community at large. She is an inspiration to so many. This does not even count her advocacy in ASL Club, the parent group, and at large to promote student independence and growth. We are blessed to have her. Chris Sundlin, special education teacher, in recognition for your outstanding service to our students, families, and community. Congratulations. And 4th of our nominees, 5th, I guess, if you count the number of folks up here, but not last. We're never ever saying that. Katie Grady was nominated by Nichelle Griffin. She has a wealth of knowledge and has a way to diffuse any situation. People, students, parents, teachers just trust and love her. They value her expertise and find her so easy to talk to. I know I do. She is also an incredibly hardworking individual, always on the move, but will always stop to talk if you need something. She is simply the best. Katie Grady, school psychologist, in recognition of your outstanding service to our students, families, and our community. Congratulations. Big hand for all of them. Thank you all.
One note on that agenda item, and again, congratulations to our recipients. We did receive a number of nominees, and we're planning on bringing other nominees that have been nominated for recognition to our next 3 board meetings, our 2nd board meeting in April, our 2 board meetings in May, and then picking up again in September when the school year starts again. So congratulations to all of them. Very well deserved.
All right, Rich, you're up. Red Hawk highlights.
The few things to highlight, as always, some great things happening across our school district. Last week, Milton High School hosted their inaugural Milton Arts Cabaret, and it's a showcase of Red Hawk creativity in a large number of different areas. There were works in robotics, metalwork, musical performances that were all part of the event. And we want to thank our staff members, our volunteers, and our students who contributed to that exciting event to get that kicked off for the first time. We also are, Milton Public Library is hosting Milton Student Art Show, and this is the last week of that. For those that haven't attended, we encourage you to stop by at any time at the Milton Public Library this week, or join for the closing reception, which will be Thursday evening. We want to, on that same art topic, we want to congratulate Milton East second grader, Elena Meyer. Elena's art was included in the Southwest Regional Art Show in Madison in March. Out of 600 artists featured, so these are artists who were chosen to be featured, and out of those 600, Elena was one of 40 whose piece earned the State Merit Award. And she's one of only 2 elementary artists whose work received that recognition. So a very high honor. I don't know if people got a chance to see her art. I know that in the Red Hawk Review newsletter, there was a picture of that, but congratulations to Elena. We had 3 Red Hawks recently showcase their scientific knowledge and creativity at the Fort Atkinson Science Fair. All 3 brought home awards for their work. Claire Kay in the grade 6 through 8 competition was first place and the People's Choice Award for her project Compost Conundrum. Let us explore. LETTUC. Let us explore. Her research focused on how different ratios of green to brown compost material impact compost efficiently. So congratulations to Claire. Colette P. was in the grades 4 and 5 category, and she earned second place with her study, Isopods, Water versus Vinegar, which investigated whether dairy cow isopods prefer water or vinegar. Congratulations to Colette. And Sully K. was also in the 6th through 8th grade category, received the honorable mention for popsicle power, testing the strength of Pratt versus Warren truss bridge designs using popsicle sticks. So congratulations to all 3 candidates for their research, dedication, and presentation at the science fair. And then our FBLA Leadership Conference was held in Green Bay. We had 2 students take second place, Ben Lewis and Braden Dorsey, second place in computer game and simulation programming, and they're headed to nationals in California. Emma Steinke placed 5th in marketing and was honored for her community service. Madison Bussinger placed 9th in healthcare admin and received a community service award. And Max Olson placed 7th in public policy and advocacy, was named outstanding chapter member, and served on the Wisconsin President's Executive Council. So congratulations on the great showing by our FBLA. The last highlight that I had was we had shared earlier that Northside had done the cereal box donations, and there's an update on that. The Do Good Wisconsin Cereal Box Domino Challenge, Northside won their category across the state for the most cereal boxes collected, with 3,529 cereal boxes that were donated to the Milton Food. So congratulations to the Milton, or the Northside group, and to all of our students for some outstanding achievements over the last few weeks or month.
All right, questions for Rich at all?
I would just say, look forward to the high school cabaret event, and those images are very impressive. And I would just say to the board, I was talking to the robotics kids, they're so excited to have a class. And so it just reminds me that things we do here, they appreciate, and I want them to much appreciate it if they, put themselves out there, and it was really fun. I thought it was a fun event.
I was there also, and I would add that Mr. Elliott was singing. I was surprised he got there. He back off a good number.
Excellent. All right, moving along, committee reports, we're gonna start with HR. Rick?
Okay, thanks, Joe. HR committee met last week on April 7th. First item on the agenda was preliminary enrollment and certified staffing for 2025-26. As is the case every year, administration looks at projected enrollment numbers to come up with staffing needs. Our projections are looking like next year's enrollment is going to be very similar to this current year. For regular education staff, this means that there currently are no changes being made to the full-time equivalent. 1.0 FTE teaching position will be transferred to the middle school from Northside due to a shift in class size. The numbers of staff at the elementary level will be the same. The numbers of sections of each grade in which schools they will be at are not yet finalized. The goal, as always, will be to balance these out throughout the district. Administration is recommending an increase in the special education staff due to increase in student needs and caseloads. Thus, they are recommending a 1.0 FTE for a special education teacher at Harmony and a 1.0 FTE school psychologist also at Harmony. Kristen, do you have anything to add to that, or Rich?
Other than that, these positions are part of the ongoing budget discussions that we're going to be having between now and as that budget's shared with the board in the fall.
So there isn't, on that same topic, there isn't a need for approval of those FTE right now. That will be, maybe as Chris shared, built into the budget development that will come to the board at a later date.
Any questions on that? Next item is discussion and possible action on 25-26 summer school compensation. We had a discussion regarding this in executive session during the committee meeting, and the committee is recommending an increase in the summer school hourly wage from $25 to $30 per hour. As stated in the memo, this will allow us to offer our staff competitive wages and hopefully secure sufficient staffing for this summer school session. Any questions on that, or Chris, anything to add to that?
Nothing to add.
Chris, what's the financial impact of that small change? You know, roughly?
Very minimal, John.
Yeah.
I'll move to approve increasing summer school hourly compensation from $25 to $30 effective for June 9th, 2025. Second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was pretty quiet.
Speak up. We have a motion from Tracy, seconded by Jennifer, that the president didn't hear. Apologies there, I sat here in kind of wonderment. So the motion is second, properly presented, they're on the floor. Does anyone have any questions?
I want to make sure in the motion that's listed, it talks about effective June 9th, 2025. And the reason that's the effective start date is that's our first day of summer school. So that would go into effect this fiscal year for the June summer school, and then starting July 1st. Obviously, that would be in effect for the rest of the summer, but would be on next year's, during next year's fiscal year.
Any other questions? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? All right, that clearly passed.
Next item is discussion of possible action on 2025-26 standard hourly rate increase for non-curricular work. As stated in the memo, this standard hourly rate is most often used to compensate staff for duties performed outside of the normal workday, such as chaperoning the dance. The committee also discussed this in executive session and is recommending an increase in this rate from $15 to $25 per hour. This rate has not been changed in a few years, and the budgetary impacts of this are laid out in the memo. When was that last changed, Chris?
I'm sorry.
When was that last changed?
I want to say close to 8 years ago now.
Been a while.
Yes. Yeah.
Quite a while.
The $15 has been in place for 8 years. The $25 rate, which is the other, there's dual rates right now, depending on what the duties are. that was put in place in 22-23. That was raised from $20 to $25, but the proposal is to kind of eliminate the $15 category and roll all SHR work into that $25 per hour pay.
I'll make a motion to approve increasing the non-curricular standard hourly rate from $15 per hour to $25 per hour effective July 1st, 2025.
All right, Rick's motion is seconded by Annette, as you just heard, to move our standard hourly rate for non-curricular functions from $15 to $25 effective July 1st. Questions from anyone? And then all in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That clearly passes.
That's it for HR, Joe.
Excellent, thank you, sir. Next up, we'll transition to Finance Committee. John Doomer.
Yeah, the Finance Committee met last Monday evening. Five items on the agenda, are the same five that will be presented tonight. I will summarize items A, B, and E first. These are not action items for tonight, but rather for informational purposes. Item A is a discussion on field lighting for one of the soccer fields at Schilberg Park. There have been communications with the Milton Youth Soccer Program on a plan to cost share lights for the field that's located in the southeast corner of Schilberg. Another item for discussion is the potential for a Milton High School Ag Program barn facility. This has stemmed from conversations that have covered a couple of years with the Milton FFA alumni. This is still in the discussion phase, but at a point for the board to be made aware of. Item E is an extension of our community focus group meetings held last year. This is an opportunity to continue the conversation about school finance and state and local budgeting. I will let Ross and Rich expand on this more, but as I mentioned, another great opportunity I hope our community takes advantage of. Items C and D are both action items for tonight. I would like to first thank Neil, Ross, and Rich for gathering all the data for these items. This data allows us board members to make informed decisions. Item C is in regards to the new 5-year lease for the copy machines. There were 2 bids from 2 excellent companies. It was the recommendation of the Finance Committee at the time to go with the Ryan proposal. Prices were very similar. The district has partnered with Ryan successfully for over 20 years now. Item D is in regards to the Apple refresh buyback of the current fleet of machines. As you saw in board docs, the grading rubric was built with the 4 top companies to consider. There is more that goes into picking the vendor and price. Based on this data, the Finance Committee does recommend Diamond Essence as the vendor to use for the buyback project. Their price was within 1% of the max bid, and they have a history with the district in providing excellent work and routinely going above and beyond in service to our schools. So that's a summary of the five items. We'll circle back to A. I think Steve, you're going to kick it off.
Sure. Yeah, so thanks for the summary, John. Item A was the Schilberg Park field lighting topic, and as we discussed at the Finance Committee, we were approached by the youth soccer group to look into the possibility of lighting one of their soccer practice fields. Just a summary, Schilberg Park has 4 lit ball diamonds and 3 lit football fields, and none of the soccer fields are currently lit. The field that we landed on as a top priority for them would be the field in the southeast corner. It's because it really receives the least amount of non-soccer foot traffic and would be the most dedicated soccer field that we could provide them based on the busy use of Schilberg Park. We presented the youth soccer group with a budget estimate from Musco Lighting, who we just partnered with at the baseball diamond, and that budget estimate with Musco at the time was $175,000 to $190,000. And we talked a bit at the Finance Committee about where fund balance is currently in Fund 80, being high enough where we could potentially partner with the soccer club to do some kind of cost sharing on a project like this. So it's much like the barn facility we'll talk about next, but it was at a point where we wanted to talk with the board, Finance Committee and full board to just bring you up to speed on that conversation and see if you have any questions or concerns.
Just share one quick thing around the timeline. We always want to make sure the board is alert to conversations like this that are brought to us by community groups. So when this was brought to us, we asked the soccer boosters to put any conversation on hold until we've had a chance to update the board on any future conversations on it, and to make sure there weren't any concerns that the board had about continuing conversations. If there aren't any concerns about continuing that conversation, then the soccer club would start looking at having public conversations about fundraising and that type of thing. Before anything was finalized, it would be brought back to the board for approval.
I'll jump in. First of all, that's a great idea. I know it's been past many years. Are we talking about sustainable costs or just startup costs?
So we're talking about startup costs is 175 to 190, but ongoing costs are pretty negligible. Life expectancy for something like that is over 20 to 25 years. The LED technology, they stand behind that, lasts a long time. Warranties over 15, so nothing you'd really notice on the power bill either.
Stephen, I just want to comment, you mentioned at the meeting, but the lights are controlled via an app now versus somebody needing access through all the other pieces that need access to the building. So it's that was a really interesting feature, and obviously a cost savings because they can turn them off from their phone as they're heading out. And then obviously, so not only the soccer clubs, but then also the high school students could use that field if they wanted to practice in the evenings as well.
Most definitely.
Thank you. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I appreciate the discussions. I think we should definitely keep going forward. Outside of the stadium, soccer kids don't have anywhere to play. In the evening hours. We all know how many youth there are in the community who play soccer. I'm sure we get plenty of youth, so thanks.
They're one of the groups that starts the earliest in March and goes the latest into November, so they use the facility quite well. So yeah, pivoting on to nothing else on the lighting, we can pivot on to the FFA barn facility. So again, this is another conversation that we've been having with another group about potentially constructing a barn facility somewhere on the high school existing lot. We've had some back and forth conversations with them over some time, and it's to the point where the FFA has a pretty good schematic look at what they would want to do in the barn facility, and Jeremy can jump in for what the actual programming would look like. But we're just, like I said, at the point where we're looking at different options, placement, also potential timeline, and funding for the project would be solely on the FFA alumni for constructing the facility. We're just looking to do a bunch of different aspects of the project, which include talking about animals, what the insurance ramifications would be, so on and so forth. But we're getting pretty far down the road now where the board definitely needs to be aware of those conversations and provide input.
And this is another item, just like the soccer field, where before we continue and go in depth conversations about details on this, we want to make sure that the board was alert to it. And again, if there aren't any reasons tonight to pause, we would continue to have conversations with the FFA alumni on different options, and then bring those to the board down the road for inaction at another board.
I just have one question, and again, same as the other one, I think this is a great idea and opportunity. You mentioned insurance, which is going to be one of my questions. Say what's like a regulatory for disposal of waste and stuff. Who is managing through those questions? I'm just kind of curiosity.
So that's a great question. That kind of brings me to, we've also been looping in the city of Milton regarding the existing ordinances that are in place and what ordinances might be restrictive to do such a facility on our site. So they have ordinances for how animal waste would be handled, which we would have to obviously abide by with any animals or in facilities that we bring on site. There are some ordinances currently in place that would restrict that, but the city has given us no indication that that would be a problem to get them changed. We have very large lot, and they take into consideration the overall size of your property for how many animals you can have on it and so on and so forth. But we would definitely make sure that I's are dotted, T's are crossed for complying with any city of Milton ordinances for both how the animals are handled and where any facility can be placed.
And this, when you said mention programming, goes along with what you mentioned last year, Jeremy, about the increasing of the programming related to agriculture.
Right, so in our egg science courses, there's a variety of courses where sometimes we'll have guest animals come in where we actually put a makeshift pen in the parking lot for them to be there for the day. Or this is just gonna expand to our vet science classes, large animal science classes, some of our articulated classes with Blackhawk Tech. I would give them a lot more opportunity. For example, we might host a pig might come into Farrell while at school. Well, so there's some experience that they're able to get that they just don't know.
Wonderful, thank you.
Jeremy, quick question. You had mentioned at the meeting that there's at least two districts that have a similar setup. Is that Medford and New Richmond?
Medford and New Richmond, yes, and we've been in contact with both of them, both getting some of their policies and their procedures as well too. Both have very, very strong egg programs like ours that have had this type of facility for a while. New Richmond is actually quite large; it's almost a small farm.
Jeremy, do you envision this being used 365 days a year or just during the school year? Or?
So there'll be two components to it. So yes, it would mostly just be during the school year. And we are still part of this. We would explore going further. Is the ownership of the animals very likely could be where we have local community members who are hosting their animals. We're hosting their animals for the year, which then go back to their homes during the summer months. But there's also opportunity for this facility to, like with any of ours, we have partnerships like with 4-H groups, et cetera. That could happen during the summer. Though we would have to have time to clean it, to sterilize it, et cetera, during the summer.
Thanks.
Good question. Are we talking strictly animals here, or strictly animals we're talking about in the barn, or are we going to have any crops or anything?
So this facility would be geared towards animal science. So, and we're talking maybe on a couple steers, maybe sheep, chickens, maybe we might host a goat. We'll see. But this is mostly towards it. But it still is there's going to be a classroom. It's not to say that there couldn't be a workshop one night about crops or other natural resources, etc.
One other thing that I want to highlight is what we've been doing since they approached us, and this isn't a brand new thing, this actually has been a few years conversation. Joe shared that maybe 7 or 8 years ago it was broached, and some of the FFA alumni leaders had shared that it was something that they've kind of tossed around a little bit, but now they're a little bit more serious about doing some fundraising and bringing something forward. And so in the preliminary conversations, we wanted to make sure, before we brought it to the board, we wanted to make sure that it was something that we felt our students would benefit from, that it would be valuable both in the short term and long term. And want to reinforce that our ag classes, our FFA program, we have really strong ag classes, very strong FFA program, and potential 4-H use for this facility. And Stephen and Jeremy, Stacy Skemp with our ag program at the high school have really done a lot of research in other districts and have had those preliminary conversations. And then Ross and I have been looped in as we've started talking about insurance needs and ongoing costs. So this is, again, an FYI for the board, but it would be something that we would continue to look at. One other thing that I want to note is we actually have had a conversation, really preliminary conversation about 2 different possible locations because we want to know what do the FFA boosters have in mind. And one possible location would be just to the west of the stem wing, kind of where Mount Milton used to be during our construction time. And that would be a nice location very near our ag classrooms. But another location that we've talked about, because if you remember from our 10-year facilities plan, a replacement of our maintenance shed has been on that facilities plan. It isn't an immediate need, but it's a real need and another possibility rather than building this new large animal facility and then building another new maintenance shed would be the FFA alumni potentially using the current maintenance shed and the structure of that and retrofitting that. And then we would look at a new maintenance shed along that same timeline. So really preliminary conversations, but I wanted the board to be alert to a couple different possibilities. And the options aren't limited just to those possibilities, but those are a couple of areas that we had discussions with.
Yeah, and I can share a couple of pieces. It's pretty much ancient history at this point, but this discussion is an evolution of way back in our facility planning world. We at one point had diagrammed or blueprinted a new high school. That would have included a large animal lab of sorts that would serve this function. Obviously, we didn't do that, right? Our plans changed and evolved. So when that went away, the ag folks were like, okay, well, how can we address, that piece of the programming? And so that discussion has been sort of simmering a little bit in the time from then until now. And then the other thing is, anyone with a long enough look back, I could throw my FFA alumni hat on here for a moment. This group has done a number of projects with the school district. The football field renovation a number of years ago, the entire building that now functions as our band choir chorus area there was built and donated to the district by the alumni. And then obviously Shilberg Park came through that channel too. So this group has partnered with the district a number of times, and it has been a wonderful relationship over the years. So just for history buffs. All right, is that it on the barn facility? Stephen, questions from anyone? And then before our action items, Rich, did you want to speak at all to our community listening sessions or the reinvention of those?
Yeah, we can jump to agenda E and then come back to the action items. Yeah. At the finance committee meeting, as John shared, Ross and I shared some really preliminary information about a summer community information session. We talked about this with the board, kind of following our referendum. We utilized last summer a series of community information sessions that really helped build the knowledge amongst our community around school finance and budget and the state budget for K-12 education and the impact that has on our local school. And then looking at both short-term and long-term impacts to the budget. So what came out of that conversation actually is tied to one of my goals for this year, is to put together a information session in the summer for community members. So Ross and I have been kind of talking through the structure of that. We shared with the finance committee some of the things that John highlighted. And just kind of in a nutshell, we're looking to hold that separate from the annual meeting. The annual meeting is a more formal presentation of our budget for the coming year, but the intent of this is more of a conversation with any interested community members and a focus on inviting folks and having it be open to anyone from the community, and really also focusing on all of our different municipalities. We want to make sure that we're keeping that connection and strong communication channels with all the municipalities that make up our school district. Ross, anything to add to that?
I think I mentioned during the finance committee that I had too much fun with these sessions because I don't talk about this stuff when I even should. But Rich is correct. There's a lot of topics in school finance that remain saying from a lot of people. I also shared at the meeting that I was took part in the listening session of the state legislature, the Capitol, February 2020. It was surprising and a little bit concerning how many people weren't understanding the primary topics being discussed. So I think bringing that to our community as much as we can and discussing the finer points, trying to make it as digestible as possible is a duty that I take very seriously. So I'm looking forward to it.
We haven't set a date for it yet, but we hope to soon, and ideally it would be if the state legislative session and state budget is finalized, to have it sometime either in late July or early August, prior to our annual meeting.
All right, any other questions on that?
Let me just ask if we don't have a state budget, by when we need to hold off then and wait.
I think the preference would be to do it before our annual meeting, and we can share what we have, and then we'll see what comes from the state budget, and if we need to do more communication out, we could look at either hosting another one once the state budget is finalized, or looking at other ways to communicate that information out, because I'm assuming that part of what you're getting at is that this year's state budget is going to have a significant impact on revenue for school districts, not just us, but public schools across the state.
Well, I was thinking that could just be delayed, but yeah, that too.
Ross, is there an estimate on if it were to come, when would it come? Yeah,
If I could tell you that, I'd be sleeping better at night. But I would be expecting to hear something no sooner than the end of June. Ideally, quicker, most likely, first couple weeks of July.
thank you.
You're still up, we got 2 agenda items yet.
Yep, so last two are the action items. Touched on them briefly, but item C, item C is the copier lease, 5-year lease. Neil, is that you?
Neil and Ross can share some information on the copier lease, or Neil can, and Ross is available for questions.
Sure, the copier lease, our current 5-year term is up with Ryan. They've done an excellent job for us over the past 5 years and well into the past beyond that as well. They're another vendor that's gone above and beyond for us. A couple of times they've done free upgrades, free device swap outs for us, which is part of the reason we're recommending them over Word and Flesh, even though there's a little bit more cost savings. If you look at the memo, their last 5-year, the cost of the last 5-year contract is $541,000. Going with Ryan, we're going to save almost 20% of that year over year. I'm sorry, sticking with Ryan, we're going to save $85,000, I think, over the course. And that's due to the efficiency of the machines themselves. One other thing is, Ryan is offering us a buyback for our existing fleet. They increased their bid on that from $4,000 to over $10,000 to $12,000, depending on how we take the credit. They also are willing to waive a couple of lease payments in the coming year if we would still owe them. That's not reflected in your memo. It's just another kind of point to consider.
Quick question, thank you for putting all this together. In the proposal, is the Ryan proposal and the GFC proposal the same amount of new machines?
They are this, yes, because we had the large fleet, did some combinations, and both Word and Flesh and Ryan had those same combinations for them. So yes, same number.
And this implements the smart, like, badging to.
It does, yeah,
so things
paper cut,
aren't just like.
badge release printing, which increases security and efficiency.
Thank you.
And Neil, that's reflected in the Ryan proposal as well?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, where's paper cut reflected on the
I'm sorry.
how's paper cut reflected financially?
Paper cut is built into both of them.
Okay, so they charge per unit or something like that?
Yeah, it's, you know what, I didn't even look at how it's broken down, like if it's a user license, they just baked it into both of them.
Neil, can you explain, or perhaps Ross, again, why have we been spending just over $9,000 monthly for the last 5 years with Ryan? And now we can get to $7,300 with Word and Flesh.
The secret sauce there is in the efficiency of the devices themselves. So 5-year-old technology, the cost per print and the consumables it uses and the maintenance it requires is significantly higher. If you look up in the bullet points on the memo, we have been paying
Yeah, 8 cents, I see.
Yeah, 8 cents per page for color and then 6 cents per page for black and white. Those numbers go down. The consumption is the lion's share of the monthly cost. We also have currently not a lot of visibility into who's printing what, why, and where. We don't have any controls quota set. I'm not saying we'll implement those, but at the very least, we'll have visibility into if buildings are printing more or less than others, trying to even that out a little bit. Maybe perhaps offering some incentives or just for printing less. Right now, we have none of that, so this gets us one step closer.
So, I mean, $13,383 is still significant. So,
Yep, and if you consider the, not the buyback in here, but the waived fees, so disposal wash. The waived lease fees, that we would incur if we didn't move, the summer timing, it'd be about another $7,500, so it cuts it about that, so $78,000. Also significant, just a little less.
And that's over 5 years.
Yep.
That's what I was gonna ask, Neil, that the 7,500 that you shared is spread out over those 5 years?
The device is using our show. And the proposal, if we would have, protocol should be a different model, be a Canon or Ricoh. So all those will be reinstalled on their device. And I would imagine that the print drivers are different. And they want to do two-sided and
PaperCut simplifies that a little bit. You install one driver and one queue on every computer, and you release it at whatever printer you go to. So it does simplify the drivers in the deployment, but that's the same across both.
Okay, so there wouldn't be a learning curve.
Neil, can you speak about again, do you have a lot of complaints about the current machines, and do they go down often? And, I mean, what if I were to ask, if I would go to the high school and just ask, what would they say about their machines?
They would say that they break more often than they like, but they are 5 years old. But that the Ryan technicians are super responsive and they get there. And not only do they fix the problem in a timely manner, they're also proactive about trying to help find solutions. We had an example at the high school where there were continuous paper jams, and they helped to put tests together and discovered that we needed to buy different paper for that, so we could not just fix the problem, but also kind of cut off the costs.
And how long does it take a technician to arrive?
They have SLAs posted, I don't have it in the memo, but it's hours.
And I understand the value of vendor relationships, so I understand taking care of recommendations. So, on that note, the finance committee recommends approving, or is that not? I'll move to approve the 2025-26 copier lease with Rhyme as presented.
One point of clarification, this is a 5-year commitment, so I think the motion should read 25 to 2030.
Oh, I will adjust my motion.
Thank you. And I heard a second?
I'll still second.
Okay, that's Tracy's motion, seconded by Ed, to approve our copier lease to continue with Ryan for 2025 to 2030 as presented. Questions from anyone? And all in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Thank you. One more, Don.
Yes, last up, item D, student staff device buyback. As mentioned, it's time to sell our current fleet. Ready for the new stuff. I put together a rubric, which I'm sure Neil will go over. Came down in the committee meeting, we talked more about the price. There's other factors to consider. It seems like this whole game, this whole world is kind of Wild West in the way they do things. So having the rubric with the other factors was definitely helpful in our decisions.
Sure thing. As John shared earlier, the recommendation is to go with Diamond Assets, and that's due to a number of factors. They submitted a extremely competitive bid that is within 1% of the top dollar offered amongst all of our bidders. And then other factors push them ahead. They have better payment terms than others. They have fewer deductions based on the accessories that we deliver or don't deliver. They have fewer deductions based on the quality or the condition of the device that we turn in, which is a big part of the decision here because we're going to use these devices for 4 years in student hands. instead of just our usual 2, which is what we have been doing. So we expect these ones to be a little bit more weathered. So that was a big part of it. All told, they scored out the best. If you can look at our rubric, we put everybody through a rigorous process and tried to standardize as much as possible. We submitted a strong bid, and we have good faith and a long history of doing good work for us.
Neil, can you also share on the second part of that table that's in the memo, and make sure that there's clarity around the different rows there, the max value and the percent and the minimum guarantee and the anticipated grading adjustment?
Yeah, the maximum value of the contract is if we turn in every single device in perfect condition, that is what they will pay us. You know, that's not likely to happen. Based on our previous buyback experiences, we have an anticipated kind of deduction based on the condition of the device. They also know that. All of our bidders gave us a minimum guarantee. They said, listen, here's your grade A price. We know they're probably going to be about 70% of that, so here's our minimum. Minimum does not necessarily mean minimum, because they then have a broken device allowance or a grade F allowance. So that's the second to the last line, is our anticipated F grading adjustment based on some other deals we've worked in the past year or so. We expect not only not grade A to grade C, we expect 2/3 of those to be in less than perfect condition, and they may be considered non-resellable. So with all those factors built in, we get to a more reasonable number. We can expect more like a $400,000 purchase, even though the minimum says 6, even though the maximum says 8. That's kind of what we're expecting. And then there's a little bit of math in there for the percentages as well. As you can see, Diamond Assets has 99% of the top bid, which belongs to second.
I would just like to point out something that I heard in the committee meeting, and that is if there is a dispute on the F grading, appreciate that this business is in our backyard versus shipping it across the country and then not really having a leg to stand on and disputing it. So again, vendor relationships matter.
Yep, there's significantly more recourse on the Ranger.
One of the numbers, Neil, that stood out to me at the meeting was the last small batch we sold. I think it was Second Life Back got that bid, and it was 40% F rating.
Correct.
So even though we kind of predict minimums and all that, it still came in less than. So.
Exactly. Yep, and that's one of the reasons we have that extra factor. We have maximum and then minimum and then a little bit extra there because of that.
In that smaller batch, how old were those machines?
3 years.
The other thing in the committee meeting, and Rich, you can talk about this a little bit, but this is actually board policy. We don't have to go to the board to make this decision. Superintendent could make that decision, but we decided that it would be best for the board to make this decision.
A board policy is that the district administrator can implement sale of district property, not of land property, but of materials and property. We had that conversation with the committee and landed on this being a big enough amount that the board, the finance committee preferred that the board make that action. And I think that that's a good idea in situations that are this large too. And the policy doesn't prohibit that, it just states that I have the authority to sell those things.
I'll make a motion to approve the Apple device buyback pricing with Diamond Assets as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Rick's motion is seconded by John to approve our buyback process through Diamond Assets as the memo shares and as it's been presented. Does anyone have questions? And all in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That clearly passes. I think, Mr. Goober, you were done.
Yeah, that is it.
Thank you for that. All right, one piece of new business as Mr. Gosdeck is making his way up. This is the annual deal, shouldn't say deal, process that we need to go through for the Wisconsin School Nutrition resolution and agreement. We're renewing policies and practices that we already have in place. So, Michael?
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, this is just the renewal we've done with the Wisconsin Nutrition Co-op for a number of years now. It's been a real benefit to us when it comes to purchasing power for different products, specifically our food products and stuff. The $300 membership fee continues to be very economical for us. Some of the highlights from this past year, we did have 4 new schools since last year to our co-op, so our co-op continues to be strong, continues to grow. For products and rebates and credits for the 24-25 school year, we got a check from the co-op for a little over $6,200. We continue to work with our procurement specialist. This year was Novi Consulting, and working with procurement specialists really helps us to ensure that we're compliant with DPI and USDA regulations when it comes to our request for proposals for like the breads and the milk bids and stuff. So, and we continue every year to work with our food vendors and manufacturers to get the best pricing possible for all of our products, thereby saving us cash. So.
I'll move to approve the Wisconsin School Nutrition Purchasing Cooperative Resolution Revision as presented.
Second.
Thank you. And that's motion is seconded by Ed to continue our participation in and renewing our membership in the School Nutrition Purchasing Cooperative as it has been presented. Questions? All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That clearly passes. Thank you, Michael. And miscellaneous A is staffing report, which has an updated version as mentioned.
I move to approve the staffing reports as presented.
Second.
Rick's motion is seconded by Jennifer to approve the staffing reports and the original and the updated version as presented. Questions? And all in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That clearly passes. Gifts and donations follow customarily, and that is a nice number.
Move to approve the gifts and donations with gratitude.
Second.
Tracy's motion is seconded by John to approve the gifts and donations with the gratitude of our district. Questions from anyone?
Just like to call there some pretty
Yeah,
donations.
It is. It's bigger than the summer months, so it is obviously worth noting. $69,000 from our generous community.
Some very generous individual donations too. Some of our donations come from businesses or organizations, but we have some very generous individual donations in this document and throughout the year. We have very, very supportive community for our schools.
One other thing to note too is that even the ones that say like Friends of Northside, those are parents. Those are parents working the ground and getting those donations as well as the individuals. So kudos to our parents groups for the large sums to get to work.
All in favor of the gifts and donation approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And thank you for that. Meeting dates, Mr. Dahman.
We have our next regularly scheduled meeting on Monday, April 28th at our regular time and location, 6:30 p.m. on Monday the 28th. The following evening, on Tuesday, the 29th of April, we have a board rules and responsibilities session with Shana Lewis. And then we have M&A negotiations scheduled for Wednesday, the 16th at 5 p.m. And a possible HR committee meeting on Monday, the 21st at 6:30. I think Chelsea reached out to the HR committee. Did you hear back from?
All of them, yes.
Everybody's available on Monday the 21st, so that would be a yes on Monday the 21st at 6:30 for HR.
Any other meeting dates that folks need clarification on? All right. Well, that exhausts my regular agenda. We have an executive session scheduled, the description of which is rather lengthy, so bear with me. I would consider a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85, sub 1, sub E, and sub C, and Statute 19.82, sub 1, and Statute 111.70. Those are deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, and considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, all of which is targeted towards strategy and proposal for negotiations with the MEA and staff compensation and benefits.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion from Rick is seconded by Tracy. Polling the audience, Annette?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Ed? Yes. Joe is yes. Rick?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
That is unanimous. Thank you for joining us. We are in executive session. We are not returning to open, so safe travels, folks.